got like 10 studs in Dubai now.
I probably did like 3 million in revenue.
Bad. Turned 100k when we were 16 in December, bro.
It's around $250,000.
20k sales and then 30.
Wild, yeah, this bread.
So everyone, welcome back to the Sidehustle podcast. Today we've got a wonderful guest. We've got James Sinclair over here. Big entrepreneur, big businessman, and hopefully you're going to drop some big gems for us today. You're going to tell us all about your business life. Yeah. So I think we'll start it off, James, with whereabouts are you now in your life? What businesses do you run, and what is your daily life like at the moment?
Well, two questions there. So the first one is we're quite a big family entertainment and leisure business. We own a big chain of day nurseries. We make teddy bears and arts and crafts for kids. We make ice cream. We own quite a bit of commercial property that we either are our own tenants or we rent out to other people. I love the entrepreneurship space. I've got my own YouTube channel. I've wrote 4 books and do podcasts and help people. We employ about 1,000 people, do about 30 million in revenue a year as a business, and very ambitious to keep growing and keep doing more.
Amazing. So, with all the stuff that you've got going on at the moment, how do you manage your time?
I have a PA who really manages my diary and my time and tells me where I've got to be. So I don't really manage my own time. In terms of the tasks that I do with that time, I have lots of meetings to know where we are on figures and numbers with each of the brands that we run. And then I spend 80% of my time growing the business or doing income generating tasks rather than operating the business. Even to this day, I've never closed up, locked up any of our businesses or done a staff rota or anything like that. But, even from when I was sort of 16, 17, I didn't do any admin tasks and I don't do anything like that now. So it allows me to think big picture.
Yeah, 100%, because you can often get tied up in, actually the day-to-day run-ins and all things like that. So when it started off for you in the beginning, what was your first venture?
I was a kids entertainer, so I was a magic man doing kids magic shows. I was swapping time for money there. I was swapping, good money for the time that I was given, and then I built up an agency of family entertainment, and then done prop hire and events and stuff like that. And I just realised it was quite a low barrier to entry business, and so then I went into owning our own venues. People came to us, much more scalable. And then I bought, some farm parks, like little mini zoos. And then done day nurseries and done more and more. And I try and buy companies that fold into each other, vertical integration, or I like to call it folding into existing empires. So if we're, spending a certain amount with a current supplier, we will look to become our own supplier and start that business. Why
is that? Is it because you find that it's obviously, the lucrative avenues anyway, or is it because, do you find that going into spaces that you're already working in is much easier than kind of going into a whole new area?
An example, I think about Rossi ice cream. We were spending £250,000 a year on ice cream, so as a business, and we bought the Rossi ice cream company. So now we're spending that £250,000 with one of our own companies, but also we've got good connections and friends within the leisure space that are now buying ice cream because we own it. Yeah. And because of that, we're growing that business in the round.
Yeah, very interesting.
It gives you, if you use that process of what I've been doing, and the same with our teddy bear business, we was buying loads of teddy bears for our businesses and for our attractions. Now we can go in and say, let's make it ourselves using our volume, but then sell to other people. So we sell to Haven Holiday Parks, Park Dean, Park Resort, and we're talking to some of the other big holiday parks and zoos and attractions. We use our volume to start the business. So it's not like a startup that's bootstrapped with no customers when we do something like that. It allows us to have volume from day one.
It's very, very, very interesting. So what was the first type of business that, you did like that? So obviously you was running, business in the first place. What was the first type of business that you did vertically integrate into?
I suppose in the beginning when I had an entertainment company, I would hire in bouncy castles off of other people. So we just done it ourselves.
Very interesting.
So it's quite a low barrier to entry, like you said.
That's why I didn't like that business, because you could start a bouncy castle business tomorrow. If you want to start a teddy bear business, you need to really buy £1 million worth of stock, and
exactly.
that just stops people, in their tracks. And building an ice cream company. I like things like that because, this whole build, I don't know if they showed you around the building downstairs, all that equipment, all that machinery, 1.5
Very
million
interesting.
quid. Plus we bought the building, so 3 million quid to build a factory, that stops people in their tracks. And
So
I like that. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
So where did you go from there after the Bounce Castle one?
So then I realised that business was, quite low barrier to entry. So then I focused on, thinking bigger. And so I sold all those businesses or stopped trading those businesses that were low barrier to entry and started just every decision I make every year, I want to be doing stuff that's in other people's mind's eye harder to do.
Yeah, so to like kind of remove the element of competition and stuff.
Let me give you an example that really makes people understand this, and I use it quite a lot. If you wanted to open an Airbnb and start, you could just buy a house, rent all the rooms out.
Yeah.
Well, I would think, how can I buy a hotel with 100 rooms? And I want to be doing that because that's high.
I think I saw you was actually on about buying a hotel.
We are. Yeah, we've exchanged. We've exchanged not that one that's on that YouTube video, but another one that we're going to make some great YouTube content about. And with that, we're going to put a Rossi ice cream parlour downstairs. So within that hotel will be
Another stream.
Yeah, will be multiple businesses within one, and I'll be running all my seminars there. And we're going to build a big YouTube studio. So I'll be making it'll be like the studio, if you like, for all of our YouTube content.
Yeah, I like it. So, when you was a younger lad and whatnot, was you always business minded?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, I was the kid selling sweets at school. And,
Yeah.
I really started my business at 15 doing kids' parties, so.
Yeah, so then it was just a kind of a natural evolution from that.
Yeah, someone weird like me that's just wired up differently to, I think you come across like pure entrepreneurial people. They're not really doing it for the money.
We had a conversation about this on the way up. Is it for the money or is it for the just pure growth and success?
Yeah, I think it's because it's to prove a point. I mean, you look at someone like Richard Branson, 74 years old doing space tourism. I always sort of reference that, quote unquote, that man from the outside has got a private jet, his own Caribbean island. He's past I've not got to look for a pound down the back of the sofa.
Yeah, exactly.
So he's obviously doing it for reasons that he's just very driven, and so am I. I'm just so driven to keep on doing stuff, to keep on being challenged, to keep my mind working. I feel like, if I could summarise it, I feel like my mind works faster than normal.
Yeah, I like it. And I've always kind of looked up to Richard Branson in the sense that, they teach you about him in school and whatnot, and he's like, he just starts a record company when he's 16. Obviously, it wasn't as straightforward as it seems, but the way I used to kind of look at it, I was thinking Richard Branson, he's done it. Why can't I do the similar thing? Why can't I just go out there and, do it myself? And, do you have any advice for people, who are, in a similar situation on how they could start a business and, go out there and do it? Do you have any advice for people who are thinking about doing it?
But I think there's two questions there. Someone like Richard Branson that's incredibly driven and high risk taking, and certainly there will be very high stress times building something of my size of the business that I've built and beyond. And then you have these periods of ease in a business. So I think to get to 10 million of revenue, $1 million of revenue, making 200,000-300,000 a year profit, that's a probably lovely place to be. Then you're going to go into this middle size where you're 2-3 million of revenue, probably making the same profits because you're burning cash because you need middle management. That can be very difficult, and I think businesses go through those phases where they get to a stage of everything's lovely, and then we overtrade again. This is what entrepreneurs do. They're pushing their cash flow, they're pushing their resources, they're pushing themselves, they're pushing their team. Because they want to get to the next level. And some people get there and go, this is too hard. Then they might sell equity and bring in cash, or they return back to where it was comfortable. And I sort of try and spend my time now telling people that that's okay if because not everyone has the DNA to have that insane levels of tenacity to keep going, and that's okay. And it's not for everyone.
No, 100%.
You know, sometimes it's better to build a nice cash flowing, profitable business and invest the cash into safe stocks and shares or property to build your wealth. You know, I think you probably got 70 good summers and 70 good Christmases. I'm 37, so I've lost half of mine. And I think it's important that you focus that mind on making sure you're doing the stuff that really fulfills you.
So what is the best way to get into business if you don't have an idea for a business that you can actually run? Well, let me give you some advice on exactly how I got started with it all. So the first thing that I ever did was started a side hustle, and I basically resold limited edition items and collectibles like trainers, like this little doll right here that's reselling for £150 plus, and it was £66 to buy. So if you're interested in a side hustle, you want to make some money, you want to get into business, then what I recommend is downloading the Crep Chief Notify app. This will notify you about any collectibles or limited edition items that are coming out that you can buy and resell for a profit. You just buy the items, sell them on eBay and Facebook for a profit. It's that simple, guys. And anyway, back to the podcast. So, you know, when you was going through that period from, you know, like lovely, comfortable to like growing more, did you ever think about like going back down?
No.
So you think you just like built that way to just keep going?
But now, I think I definitely still want to grow my businesses, but I don't want to do stuff as bootstrapped as I did in the first 20 years. I want to do stuff, you know, and you usually have to sell something to be able to make that happen.
Yeah. So, you know, when you obviously started like your first business and whatnot, have you sold, obviously I know you just said you sold business in the past, but like how was that like selling businesses?
I've sold a couple of things, you know, I only sold one property in my whole career.
Really?
But I'm going to sell all my residential properties now because I just don't think residential property investment in the UK is as good as it used to be. I much prefer commercial property. Again, higher barrier to entry, much more money to be made, much more tax efficient to do commercial property, especially if it's tied to your own trading businesses than, you know, buying flats and houses to rent out. And so I want to just do bigger stuff and ultimately it's better. You know, good businesses, you know, I've done loads of these no money down, nick them and sort them out. And that's a lot of energy. And I actually now want to buy better stuff at a good price. And, you know, continue to build my commercial property portfolio and build things that my teams, you know, I want my team to really benefit from all the things that our businesses have built and done. And I want to do more of this. I want to do, you know, some TV work now with business and entrepreneurship. I want to grow my YouTube channel. I want to do slightly different stuff, but still keep the original business and still grow it. You know, but I want to do it not so bootstrapped and not push myself as much as I.
Yeah, well, that's why you've got a team, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, I still push myself, but you know, what I'm trying to say here is, you know, when you build a business like mine that, you know, I've not got any venture capitalists, private equity money. It's all been bank borrowing and from the profits the business has made, you know. And there's not many people that want to control an ownership of the business. I'm quite rare like that you know, I'm not as young as you guys, but I'm still in that sort of millennial category where the whole idea is you sort of get going and then sell a stake to bring in private equity cash to really grow. Well, I've used all my own cash and all my personal guarantees. You know, I've personally guaranteed and still personally guarantee millions and millions and millions of pounds. And I'm still very happy to do that, but I don't want to and I don't need to, you know, be as sounding as close to the wind as the younger me was.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Very interesting. So, you know, obviously going back to like the selling of businesses and whatnot, you know, was these like, you know, just mild businesses that like, you know, really didn't turn over much?
I sold a property and a little theme park that we owned in the last couple of years, and it's very hard to make proper cash out of trading a business. You know, anyone that's mega wealthy have sold a business and then gone again. Because when you've got your own cash, the speed. Once you've got the knowledge, that is, by the way, they've got knowledge and then they can do speed. Right. And borrowing money is not impossible, but difficult. Dealing with banks is difficult. You know, banks, you know, are risk adverse. And, and you want to be using banks really for, I think one of the smartest things entrepreneurs can do is if they've got a trading business that operates out of a commercial property, but like this building that we're in today, we own the commercial property and we've got our trading business inside. It's a really smart, tax efficient, super way of building personal wealth and building a business working in unison. But you want the bank to lend you the money for the building, and then you use your cash to accelerate the growth of businesses. And that's my process. It's quite heavy stuff here.
Yeah,
You're asking me some good questions.
I like it. So when it comes to like these things about you just said then like one of the best things that you could do is buy their own property. How did you learn about that kind of stuff? Do you read a lot of books and like or stuff like that, or you just genuinely like?
Well, I do. I am an avid reader. I'm an avid podcast listener. I'm an avid. I mean, I'm sort of cross that when I started that I didn't know so much about there wasn't podcasting.
Yeah.
So you guys are 25-ish, aren't you?
21,
21, 23. So
do you have a favourite podcast?
Yeah, the James Sinclair Business Podcast. You've got to check it out. No, I don't have it. And actually, I don't really listen to podcasts. It's more audible, but so more audio books.
Yeah, most are just audio books rather than video podcasts. But
I mean, I did listen to some. I mean, my podcast is, a inspiration from a radio show called LBC, which we have down in London, which is like a call-in show, and they do politics, business, everything. And we sort of have business owners come on mine that have got challenges, and then I coach them through those challenges. And I enjoy that because I'm having a conversation like we're having with business owners. They're eager to grow and they don't know. And how did I, got my knowledge? Yeah, I did read Richard Branson's Losing My Virginity when I was 16. That was a really great book. And then I read all the Dragon's Den lot because they all had books out. But that was really the pool of resource. And there was, self-development books, but I didn't really notice any of that sort of stuff until I was 27, 28. How I found out about this whole self-development, learning about entrepreneurship. The Wolf of Wall Street film came out, and that made the guy that Jordan Belfort quite famous, and he was doing seminars. I thought, there's seminars for business owners. I went along to one of them, and then I discovered this whole world, and I read loads of self-development books, and that really did help me. But I wish I had that when I was 20, when I was 18, 19. I wish I had the YouTubes, the podcasts. Like if I was you,
endless information.
I would just be pumping my brain with all of that stuff. I had to learn on the job really. And how did I deal with my property deals? I had some great bank managers in the early days. They were old school bank managers that sort of coached me a bit and helped me and mentored me a bit. They wanted to lend me the money and they sort of told me what I needed to do in my business to be able to borrow from banks. And I, Dave Oram and Ian Douglas and those two were, one was from Lloyd's and one was from Barclays, both retired now, but they were, quite strong in helping me in them early days.
Yeah, I like
That's
it.
cool.
Very, very interesting. So, going back to that kind of, point about like books and stuff, have you got any like top books that you recommend that any entrepreneur reads?
Yeah, again, all mine. And then the ones that are not mine that I've read, How to Get Rich by Felix Dennis is just fan-flipping-tastic. Any aspiring, established, medium entrepreneur should be listening and reading that book. And then there's the abridged version of it, which was called 88 Narrow Road. Then they changed the name of it, which, forgive me, I can't remember that bit now. Anything by Dan Kennedy for marketing, if you're an SME business owner. The guy's about 110 now. But yeah, Grassroots Marketing for Small Businesses is a flipping fantastic book, which teaches you about marketing like my book, Getting Customers, does, with as little money as possible and how to get a return on that. Not doing the marketing that Coca-Cola does. That's a very different stuff. So that's a really good one. Richard Branson, Losing My Virginity, amazing book. Phil Knight's Shoe Dog, which is a story about Nike and how that business was built. There's 4 good recommendations to get you going.
Yeah, I need to get into reading myself, to be honest. Keep saying I will.
Yeah, I think listening to books, especially the Richard Branson book is read by him.
Oh wow!
So you're getting what I tell people is if you get an Audible account for $6.99, you can have direct consultancy in effect with a billionaire.
Yeah.
You know, and he'll tell you. And the Phil Knight Nike one again is read by him. That is an amazing, amazing book. Possibly that's probably the best book I've ever read, because there's lots of business stuff, but it's quite a good life story accounting of that man became the 5th richest man in America.
Wow.
Starting from scratch. I mean, Nike is a hugely profitable powerhouse. It's really what that guy did, you know, and really didn't have any money for decades. You know, there was a business turning hundreds of millions of dollars, and he was just burning the cash on growth. It's a great book. You know, his wife, when they, you know, finally floated Nike, she used to walk around with $1 million in her handbag because she was so scared that they were going to lose it all, because they'd had so many years of immense frugality and just about making it.
Have you ever been in a situation like that where you're feeling like, you know, you're going that close to the wire where you're like...
yeah, loads. Horrible.
What do you think that, you know, I know that we've been there at some points, but like, you know, what is it like, you know, what do you recommend people do in them situations?
That's what makes or breaks an entrepreneur. You know, if you've got a cash flow, it's difficult. Someone like me that always wants to grow the business, so I'm stretching myself all the time. And I've come to the point where I don't want to do that anymore. You know, I need to sell something. I'm selling all my residential property. I want to have, you know, I want to be super liquid secure as well as asset secure. You know, there's no point. You know, I've got millions and millions of pounds worth of property and assets and businesses that you know, are valued quite high, but that's just what it says on paper. And you want to have a point where you build your business up so you've just got some money in the bank account so that you can, you know,
sleep at night,
react and do stuff. Yeah. And you just, you know, you go, oh, I've got £30 million worth of businesses and property, but you know, you can't go and sell that stuff tomorrow.
No way.
You know, if you want to sell a business, let's say the average to do that is 18 months. So you want to be getting yourself in a position where you feel you've got what I call slow pound building assets. They slowly build huge wealth over a period of time, decades, but you want to have some fast pounds that you can just say, yeah, I've got lots of income coming in. I've got a nice pool of cash for those rainy days emergencies that makes me super secure, and then have my assets. Once you've got income, you know, a war chest, let's call it a war chest, and then assets that are slow pound building. I call them slow pound because they slowly build, but because they slowly build, they're very hard to take away and hard for you yourself to easily liquidate. And you want that. You don't want to just, it's a bit tough, I'll just sell a property. You know, you want to make sure that you've got those three things. So fast pounds, income coming in. Secondly, assets that are slow pound building, bricks and mortar, safe shares like Disney and Google, and then as fast as you can get yourself a war chest. And if you have those three things and you feel, I've got plenty of income, I've got a war chest, and I've got these assets that are my wealth, you'll be able to take on things with utter ease.
Yeah, exactly.
But you also, I think, when you're starting in entrepreneurship in your first 10 years, you don't want to have a war chest. You want to be able to have them squeaky bum moments so that you learn how to income generate. Yeah. Because all these people that just know that it's a tight period, we can just dip in. It's like when people inherit money. Yeah. If they've got no
easy to spend it, isn't it?
Understanding of wealth control, they just burn through that inheritance so quick rather than actually go out and earn money.
Yeah, very interesting. I suppose, you know, in the moments where, you know, it's like, it's almost make or break, and you know it's make or break, you know, you do everything in your power to kind of like, you know, generate income. And
you pull it off.
100%. If you've got money in the bank, you know, you're going to put it off kind of thing, and, you know, might leave it too late, and I suppose. But yeah, I think that's some great, absolute solid advice, to be fair. But so going back to, you know, the kind of the property and stuff, you know, I know you mentioned that, you know, residential property, you're not that interested in anymore. You don't think it's as powerful as it used to be, you know.
Well, let me explain that. I don't think it's terrible, but I think once you get to a level, commercial property is so much better. Trading businesses are so much better to put your cash in. You know, you've got lots of people that, you know, maybe they've got £50,000 worth of savings. They're going to go and buy a house. They're going to rent it out and make, after all their costs, might make £200 of positive cash flow a month after paying their taxes.
Yeah.
You put in 50 grand to make 2.5 grand. If you're entrepreneurial, you would make a lot more money by employing people with that 50,000 that could potentially bring you in hundreds of thousands of revenue and maybe £200,000 worth of profit. But that's a higher risk.
Yeah.
The other thing you should be thinking about is, as fast as you can, get into commercial property or buying another business with that 50,000 that's going to bring in so much more cash. But you've got to have the knowledge to do that. So if you don't know what to do with your money and you just want to park it somewhere, residential property is still good. But you've got higher stamp duty, you know, there's tax changes, the government are not pro landlords anymore. It's just obvious. They're never going to come out and say it. But if they keep on making the taxes so punitive for buy-to-let landlords, that's their way of saying we don't really want people doing this.
Yeah. So what's the benefits between like residential property and commercial property? Like, what's the benefits of commercial?
Commercial properties, I've had much more capital growth on commercial property, much stronger returns of yields. Do you understand what I mean by?
So returns of yield, like how much you've put into, like how much you make a month, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I've always found commercial property better on that. Much more tax efficient. You can put it into a pension. There's loads of things, and especially if you buy it attached to your trading business, you can usually acquire it with very little money.
Like money up front kind of thing for like a deposit.
Yeah, the banks. If you've got a very profitable trading business, I'll give you an example. Say you own a fish and chip shop. You own the trading business of the fish and chip shop and you're paying 30 grand of rent to the landlord. And then the landlord knocks on your door and says, I'd like to sell the freehold of the building. Would you like to buy it? You then trundle along to the bank and say, look, I'm paying 30 grand a year rent. The building's worth 300,000. He said I can buy it. And then they will send a valuer around. The valuer might say, well, with you being there and owning the freehold, the trading value of having property and trading business, you might get marriage rights where the trading value is higher than them two separate entities. Wow. So the fish and chip shop as a trading business might be worth 100 grand. The property might be worth 300 grand, but put them together, someone might be prepared to value it at £500,000. These are just examples. We've made this up. Yeah. And then you go to the bank and say, look, it's valued at 500,000. They buy it. And I've done this many times, give you 300,000 in its entirety and let you pay the deposit over 5 years.
Wow. Okay.
So I've done many of those things, and they've really seriously helped me grow my property portfolio using that strategy.
Is there anything
but they are not going to do that on residential property.
No way.
No, yeah, of course. Is there anything against you just flipping that straight off the bat?
Well, I wouldn't want to do that. If you can get your hands on commercial property, you want to hold on to it.
Yeah.
Because you can then, keep it for 5-10 years. You can then re-leverage that and go and buy more and more.
Yeah, I suppose. A lot of your businesses are all like actual physical businesses, aren't they?
Yeah.
Have you never dabbled in any like software or technology kind of?
No.
Any reason particular?
It doesn't fire me up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I like experience-based businesses and brick and mortar-y traditional businesses. That's me. Well, I want to use technology to help my businesses be as efficient as possible.
Yeah.
And I just don't like them unicorn types of this next app is going to change the world. I'm a bit more of
that's even more risk, isn't it?
Yeah, like everyone's going to buy ice cream, that's how I just feel.
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah, 100%. And you go downstairs and you can see the ice cream being made.
Yeah.
You can see it in the flesh kind of thing.
There's loads of people that are doing that and they're very passionate about that. I'm passionate about family brands that people love, and I want to carry on doing those sorts of things. You got to choose, because when it gets hard, and business is tough, people let you down, and, you could lose a contract. But if you're passionate about what you do, that gets you through, that gives you resilience to carry on. Mm-hmm. I'm not passionate about building an app or, the latest technological phase. There's plenty of people out there very passionate about it. They do that. and I do this.
Yeah, fair enough.
So going back to kind of like COVID, what was COVID like during like the bricks and mortar kind of?
Well, after I got over the initial sort of 72 hours, I became very excited because I thought there's going to be opportunities, and there was opportunities for us. We, scooped up some things, and we come out of COVID. We went into COVID with like a £10 million revenue business, and I've come out with a 30 million revenue business.
It did quite well.
But we would have grown to some degree with that. But we bought a children's arts and crafts company during COVID, and that was an amazing deal. And they just had enough of running it, and COVID made them make the decision to get out. They contacted me, and we folded that into Teddytastic, and Teddytastic's like quadrupled the size it was pre-COVID, and that might not have happened without COVID.
Yeah, I can imagine the first 72 hours was probably a bit like.
And so I think businesses are going to find it harder now in this recession, which I'm choosing not to participate in. But I in one mind, I'm excited about a recession. The second mind, I'm like, it's just another challenge to get through. But exactly. I think it's more challenging for business owners, recession, than COVID.
Yeah, 100%. Because obviously in COVID, there was a lot of like relief and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But now, all that kind of relief is coming back to bite people. That money had to come from somewhere, I suppose. So what are your thoughts on like the recession and what's upcoming?
I think it's going to be weak but long. So in the 2008-2009 credit crunch, that was shorter, but then we had a period of austerity for quite a long time. But that was a credit crunch recession, so banks didn't have any money, and that sort of forced the recession to last longer. We're not in that situation. Barclays, NatWest, all the UK banks have got more cash than they have ever had. They've got super strong balance sheets. But interest rates are making people not want to borrow, or borrowing is too expensive. But there's so much. The amount of money in the world never changes. There's always plenty of cash in the world. It's just whether people want to release it from their pockets, invest or spend. I'm excited about.
Are you going to buy anything up in the recession?
Yeah. We've got a number of deals at the moment. We're looking at this. We're close to completing on a hotel. We're buying more commercial property. We'll grow through this year. But if things don't work, we're very good at stopping doing them.
Yeah. I suppose that's a very important lesson for people. If something doesn't work, you shouldn't be afraid to kind of like go back on yourself and like pack it in, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Have you ever been in a situation like that where you've been like heavy into something and it's kind of been like not really working? You've been like, we need to stop this.
Multiple times, and I just get quicker and better at stopping them. Rather than taking 2 years, you learn to do it in 18 months, then a year, and then 6 months. You get over the emotional, this isn't working. That's also the good thing about having multiple things. You can just close things off, and it hasn't taken you out the game. But, there's not all the time. We might have one every 3 years, a line or something that we've done that isn't working.
So going back to the kind of like, the runnings of the business and whatnot, what are your thoughts on like keeping everybody in-house, like working for you, and the thoughts of like, using agencies, like marketing agencies, whoever it may be? What is your kind of like, we'll first talk about like keeping people in-house and outsourcing, and then we'll go into like ad agencies and stuff.
Have you watched any of my stuff? Is this
I have, yeah.
a preloaded question? It's no secret that we don't outsource anything if we can help it. I mean, we literally do most of our stuff in-house. We make our uniforms, our signage, our software, our websites, our phones, our ice cream, our bread, our cakes, we literally are, as in-house as we possibly can be. And I think, cutting out middlemen or middle people should be a focus of any growth entrepreneur, to bring everything in-house.
Why do you think that is? Because not only, obviously, the middleman takes a slice off the top, and
it's not so much that, it's speed, and so if you look at our printing, we were spending $100,000 a year on large format signage, for our businesses. We still probably spend $100,000 a year, but now we get £500,000 worth of value. We something looking a bit tatty, rather than putting that off. We can just do it because it's so cheap for us to do, because we've got everything in house.
So you just buy all the equipment, machinery.
Yeah, we've got big machines that do it all.
Yeah.
And we employ someone to run and do all that.
So, in situations like that, so let's say, obviously printing something probably isn't the most complicated thing, but in situations like that where you're employing someone, do you find it hard if you don't necessarily know how that works?
I didn't know how it worked.
So you just employed someone and was like, come on, mate, let's print some signs. And he was like, yeah, I can do that.
Yeah.
Interesting. Is anything like that ever like bitten you? So you got someone in and he's been like...
Of course, yeah, but you have to kiss a few frogs to find your prince.
I suppose so.
Yeah, I like it. So...
But like we do, a lot of people outsource their accounts. Well, I think that's stupid. You want your accounts in-house. We've got a fully qualified accountant work for us. And everyone goes, it's all right, James, you've got like big multi-million-pound business. Well, I was doing that when I was 20.
Yeah.
I had in-house accounts teams, when we was doing hundreds of thousands of revenue per year, and they taught me everything about numbers.
Yeah.
How to understand management accounts, monthly profit and loss. You really could put me in a room with a qualified accountant, and I won't know the absolute minutiae detail of everything, but I'll know most of it. Mm-hmm. And I'm telling accountants stuff that they should be doing. There's this thing called theatre tax relief that, I found out about, and other tax schemes that benefit businesses that accountants don't necessarily know about because, they've got to know such a broad spectrum, and tax is complicated. It's changing all the time. And I want to know enough to be able to say, hang on a sec, have you thought about this? So I really, I've got a big handle on understanding that stuff.
So you do make sure you understand everything that's going on before you hire them? Or just
no,
how do you
I
give
want
out
to
trust?
know. I want to be able to ask enough questions to know if I'm being bullshitted to or not.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, I like that. So, going on to like marketing and stuff like that, have you always had like all your marketing like team and stuff like that in house?
Yep. I had graphic design and web design in house from the age of 22. That was 2008. That was pretty.
Yeah, way back.
My first business websites were around for sure, but they were not the absolute, business critical thing that businesses need today. Facebook had just got going, and we were heavy on all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. So
now we have for a business our size, in-house videography, 3 designers, the web person, an Amazon FBA, pay-per-clicky, eBay specialist that just does that, and then someone that oversees them. And I just think, if you're not doing your marketing in-house, you're not doing enough.
100%.
Perhaps, yeah.
It's like, one way I've always thought about looking at it is kind of like, you pay someone like $4,000 a month to like do your marketing. You can employ someone full time to do that for you all day.
I don't want to put marketing companies down. Sometimes it's good to have them come in and audit what your in-house team are doing, because the person that has a marketing agency might have a really good brain for marketing, but most marketing companies are not doing the right marketing, direct response marketing that I think SME businesses should be doing. My style of marketing, or the marketing that I get that I love, is understanding the power of copy, understanding the power of headlines, understanding offers, call to actions, all of that stuff. Whereas most people, they think about marketing now that are clueless, going, you've got to put something on LinkedIn, you've got to put something on YouTube, you've got to put something on Instagram. Whereas that can be just a colossal waste of time. It's about thinking about the right stuff
What's
that's going to
get you
people's attention.
Exactly. Yeah,
very interesting. So do you run like paid ads, like Google ads, Facebook ads, stuff like that?
Yep. We've, Amazon, we do paid for ads. Rossi, we do pay. Yeah.
How does Amazon do for you as well? How does Amazon do for you?
Well, we was doing very well at the beginning of COVID. We got Prime status and all that palaver.
Yeah.
And then we couldn't get stock because of all the containers. So we turned Amazon off to focus on our wholesale customers, because I don't want Amazon to be the most important part of our business.
Yeah.
If there's a list of 10 priorities in our business, I want Amazon to be just an added little bonus. I don't want it to ever be more.
Is that so you want to be like self-sustained?
Yeah, I don't want Amazon or any income stream to be more than 10% of our turnover. No one customer or one income stream should be more than 10% of our revenues of any business. Otherwise, it's just mega dangerous. And all these people that have got Amazon businesses, what if they just turn your price status off?
Amazon says you're blocked and that's it. Game over.
So Amazon and eBay and Etsy, we want to grow that, but our holiday parks and zoos and shops, all those independents, they are our primary focus. But we want to be on Amazon because like them or lump them, they're one of the biggest companies in the world. They're usually the first to do things, and we like learning what they're up to and seeing if we can implement some of their things into our tickets that we're selling to our zoos, farm attractions, etc., etc. But anyway, to go full round on your question, we've employed someone called Fraser just to work on B2C, Amazon, eBay, all that stuff.
Perfect.
And we've got stock and supply lines, all that's gone back to normal now, so we're ready to go again in a big way.
Did they just cut it completely in COVID?
We did.
Okay.
So in COVID, container prices went through the roof.
Yeah.
Factories getting shut down. So we pivoted and set up a factory in India. I'm off to Turkey next week because we've set more stuff up in Turkey. And China's gone back to normal. But we just didn't expect to not be able to get stuff. And so rather than destroy all our Amazon reviews and stuff, we just put everything out of stock. And so now we're building it up again because we've got a really good supply chain back to normal.
So on the topic of Amazon, let me quickly tell you about a business called Amazon FBA. I'll quickly explain this now, but basically Amazon is a marketplace anybody can sell on Amazon to make a profit from selling items just by buying them at cheap and selling them at high, and that is the basic principle. So what is Amazon FBA, and specifically what is retail and online arbitrage? Basically this is a method of going around to stores like B&M, Home and Bargains, picking up products like this that are branded high quality products that are on clearance lines and shipping these off to Amazon and selling them. You're only going to make around £3 to £5 profit after all the fees and stuff like that per item you sell, but Amazon is a numbers game. You want to be selling hundreds of items every single month, and if you are interested in learning about Amazon and you want to find products like this in stores, then check out Seller Circle. This is our education and information platform that teaches you all about Amazon FBA, teaches you how to do it, and it's one of the great ways to get started with businesses, again, if you have no idea what kind of business to start. Yeah, and the issue in COVID, was it the fact that the container pricing of shipment went up so much that you wasn't able to make a profit?
Partly that, and partly the factories couldn't keep up with the volume because our tourism customers in the UK, the holiday parks, they were literally clearing us out. They went from zero to hero, more margin, more, they're better customers, and we wanted to look after them. We knew them, and but I think we'll end up doing £1 million a year on Amazon. That's what I think.
Yeah, especially with toys and stuff. Toys do really well on Amazon, especially run up to Christmas and whatnot. They're literally incredible stuff. And are they all your toys out there?
Yeah, they're our showroom. Yeah, all of that stuff we make that's solely ours.
Is that all made in here?
Not made here, but made in our factories. It's our brand.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, we were doing well. We was getting to $35,000 a month on Amazon without really putting masses of effort into it. So we know we can get back to that. And we were just teetering on eBay, and we know we can do Etsy and not on the high street because we can do personalised stuff, which does really well on there. So yeah, we know we can build that part of our business up.
It's no brainer.
So going back to employees and employing people, when I imagine do you employ people still to this day? Were you sitting on interviews and stuff, or?
Yeah, I've done an interview today for a PR person. My interviews are more of a chat, see if we can work together with someone.
Yeah.
But probably 6 a year, but they'll be high level people.
Yeah.
Most interviews that I know, they're presenting to us what they can do for the business.
Yeah. So, obviously when it comes to employing people, I think it's one of the most important factors in any business, employing the right people and stuff like that. Have you got any tips and things to look out for when employing people?
Yeah. Be wary of choppy CVs. So this is where people worked here for 6 months, there for 7 months, and they sing a tune in an interview, think, wow, they're great. But if they've been here, there and everywhere, if they slag off their previous employer, that's a big no for me. And then for entrepreneurs, usually want to recruit people that they feel they're aligned with And I use this 4 interview process. So group interview where you present to all the candidates what you want to achieve in your business, what's the vision, what you expect out of this candidate. Interview number 2 is a 1-to-1 interview with you, where you would do, an interview that everyone quote unquote thinks traditional. Interview number 3 is someone else is interviewing them, but you're sitting in and listening. And at this stage, I've changed my mind on those people that I was so sure of when I'd done the 1-to-1 interview, but now someone else is asking the questions. That could be your accountant or another trusted business owner, and then you buddy up and do it for them. And then interview 4 is a presentation to you about how they're going to deliver on your vision within your business.
Yeah, I like that, yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
I think that's really important information because, I've had, issues in the past with employing people, and I think I've just not, I suppose there's a method to the madness, really. There's a method to, doing it all, and I think there's some really quality information, Going from there, and employing people and whatnot, what do you actually look for in someone?
Attitude over skill set. Someone that's got the right attitude and a can-do approach can usually be upskilled. And the danger is always bringing, and even now we've recruited someone that has all the right skills, and I'm just hoping that their attitude merges in with our culture. Because, one of my big things, if you can't change the people, you must change the people. And if you've got a really lovely culture and you bring in someone that is just a bad apple, it's awful. If you're not training your people, then you're not gaining from them, and training and educating them has to be on a daily basis. That's whether you spend time with them. If Apple spend 45 minutes every day training their shop staff, that's just mind-blowing. And that's why no one makes more money per square foot on retail than them in the world. And I think that training, that depth of training is a big part
just
of
every
it.
morning, 45 minutes?
I don't know when they do. I'm sure it's morning, it's evenings, but they're training their teams so good. They're making them so
you
profitable.
walk into an Apple store, it's just different, isn't it?
Yeah. No one. If you just walk into, go into Next, go into Clinton's Cards, go into Audi, go into Apple, and you're like, there is a difference with the stuff. It's just ridiculous. It is monumentally different. And so you got to keep training them. I mean, I'm so passionate. I've got the latest book we just wrote, The Dream Team, which is just going through the final edit. Is all about how to recruit for entrepreneurs, because entrepreneurs make some banging hires, usually the best game changing people, and then they make awful ones. Usually they used to, you've probably got friends, you're quite aligned on culture, and then your luck has put you together and you're both driven and hardworking, and then you make a few bad hires and it makes you give up. But you've got to put in processes to make sure you're making the right decisions. And that's why I think that 4-step interview is good for entrepreneurs.
Yeah, literally, it's absolutely key. And I think, I've been in that situation. I made bad hires and I've been like, what was I ever thinking? But some great points there. But, on from that, what are kind of your goals for the future in terms of, growing business and stuff like that? I know you mentioned the hotel. Maybe talk a little bit about that. What's the plans there?
Well, I'm a man that loves real estate and property, but I want to own property that's surrounded by a trading business. That's what I really believe in. So we've got some more hospitality and leisure businesses we've got our eyes on. I'd like to own more hotels, especially when we can put a Rossi parlour downstairs that's the restaurant for the hotel that helps grow the Rossi brand. We want to turn Rossi into a much bigger business. We're very excited about that as well. And I've invested millions of pounds into it, so it needs to grow.
It's just in the UK currently, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I'm not actually bothered about going outside of the UK unless a jaw-droppingly good opportunity comes along. I think a lot of entrepreneurs want to go international. And I'm like,
yeah.
well, why? If you live in the UK, you've got 70 million people,
It's enough, isn't
seventh biggest economy or sixth biggest economy in the world. So many opportunities here in the UK, and you've got to make sure you've exhausted your home turf.
Yeah.
And
It's
we have
easy
not
way, isn't it?
exhausted our home turf.
Yeah.
Unless it's really easy to do, we write a book or I write a book, I can sell that in Australia just as easy as I can in UK. But, Teddy-tastic, we could send containers to Australia and America and start selling there. But why? We haven't exhausted the UK market that's on our doorstep. And I just want to do that stuff first.
Yeah. Have you ever traded with, obviously I know you've done books and stuff, but other than books, something that you would actually consider something that, you consider kind of like a bricks and mortar kind of business, selling teddies or whatever. Have you ever done anything like that outside the UK?
Sorry, I don't understand.
So
sold the physical product.
Yeah, other than books, have you ever done anything outside of the UK?
Yeah, we sold some teddy bears and stuff to New York and Ireland, but they would be from the UK sent across. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Not saying I wouldn't do it. I just think there's still abundance of opportunities.
Yeah, it's a good point
in this country.
100%, and I think it's probably logical to say that it's probably easier to grow your business in the UK where everybody is than to start taking it to other countries where there's language barriers. There's obviously logistic issues, all stuff like that. It's a no-brainer, really.
I wasn't anyone that watched this. I don't say that the world is getting a smaller place all the time, and if it's easy and it's a no-brainer, then absolutely sell to Spain, 100%. To America. But if it's hard and it sounds complicated, make sure that there is a massive, easy reward for that. And is your time and effort better spent on your home turf, growing your revenues in the UK? Or if you're in America, or if you're in Spain, in Spain.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
Another thing I wanted to touch on was mindset. Obviously very motivated, dedicated, and just non-stop. Do you meditate? Do you do any kind of, I know you mentioned your PT later.
Yeah, look, I don't meditate.
Yeah,
but I do quality thinking. I definitely think I'm a good thinker, and I like thinking on my own with no noise and no people around me.
Yeah,
if the kids leave the house in the morning, the missus has left, and I'm the only one in the house, I massively value that half hour on my own. And I would think I've always got a notebook and I write down challenges and use notebooks, and I've always have done. They're just doodle book. I mean, then there's nothing. This is not a diary.
Yeah,
it's just for me to,
just note stuff down. Yeah.
And then the other thing that I've started doing this year, and we're on day 12, and I've kept it going, is I'm journaling every night or every morning about how productive I felt I was today, how good my relationship is, how good I'm being as a dad. What challenges have I got, and what am I doing about them to make sure that they don't repeat? Things that I don't think I've done well at, or things that I think I've done really well at, how my health is. I should start putting food in there, actually. That's a good one. I just thought about that. Yeah, I think so. I work in a place that makes ice cream and cakes and stuff, and I like all those things.
You've got to test your product, right?
Yeah, well, I've got a sweet tooth, and I'm taking health more and more seriously, and I'm actually really, Chuds, who makes all my videos, remember, he's been with me for sort of 5-ish years now, and I don't really like exercise, but I'm actually really getting into it now, which is I'm so flipping happy about, because I don't really, I knew I had to do it, but I'm actually looking forward to doing it, and I'm starting to see results. I'm starting to feel stronger and fitter.
Yeah.
And I want to be eating better.
I think that makes up 30% of just your productivity in the day, just being healthy.
Yeah, well, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
I watched a podcast not too long ago, a guy called Rob Dyrdek, and he basically journaled his life for 10 years. Every single day he'd write down what he's been up to that day, what he's drank, what he's eaten, what time he woke up, what he did the day before. And he just said progressively over them 10 years, he just got better and better. His bank account went up, his business got better. Everything just kind of flowed because he could kind of track it statistically.
Yeah. Well, I've always done it big picture. So next to my Mac, I have a gold photo frame of the 40 things that I want to do in the year. And I've always done that. And I read through them, and I don't get them all done in a year, but I usually get them done within 3 years. one of them's on there is have a liquidity day. In entrepreneurship speak, a liquidity day is sell something and get a lot of money.
Yeah.
And I looked on there, I was like, it says that. And I'm very close to getting one of those things happening. It's about property I want to buy. The top one is eat healthier, get fitter, one of those things. And they're my 40 top things. But, you have them win days in entrepreneurship. You get a big contract over the line, or you buy a business, or you sell something, or you buy a company, or you buy a property. And I do lots of that stuff, but actually the little things I think are really important.
Yeah.
Like, I done a PT session today. If I did that 5 times a week, which is what I am aiming to do, after a year, I am this is one person shouting at me and making me do things. Because I'm writing it down, I don't want to write down that I procrastinated on that.
Yeah.
Or that I didn't feel like I achieved very well today. It's good, and let's see if it works. It's a day to a page diary, like one of them old school things that hairdressers used to use. $7.99 on Amazon, gang.
Anyone can do it.
And a big biro. You're away.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like it. I've not really heard much of like journaling. Obviously, I know what journaling is. And
Well, I
stuff,
think,
but
can I just say, I think people should do what I've done, the day to a page diary.
Yeah, I do.
Because if you keep that consistent and then you go back in 10 years time, because when you journal, I sometimes write the date on this, but you forget, don't you? Like,
I felt all right about that time.
when was that? And when it's a proper diary, you can actually look at it.
Another thing, I think Tom does it in our office. He puts the weather. Don't know if that makes a difference or not, but he just puts if it's raining, if it's sunny, whatever, and then see how he's feeling as well. But it's another mad one.
That's absolutely crazy. But I can imagine reading back on that in the future and whatnot.
Yeah. When I go through my notebooks sometimes that I've had, and I'm like, I can, but I can't pinpoint the time. So that's why I'm doing it with the day to a page. I keep saying it. I've said it on my podcast 3 times in a row. I'm saying it on yours because I'm sort of forcing myself to make sure I carry it on by saying it all the time. I don't want to be in May and someone says, "Are you not doing that anymore?"
Easily done, but
Blitz stuff, I suppose. But incredibly insightful, mate. I'll be honest. I really appreciate you coming on.
Well, I appreciate you coming to see me, guys.
Yeah, it's been an absolute
great.
pleasure.
Cool.
Thank you very much for coming on, mate. Absolute pleasure. Very insightful.